The sun barely touched the horizon, and the air smelled of oil smoke and hot metal. Jackson moved slowly through the hangar, his hands rough from years of maintenance, his eyes scanning the old Apache, its paint faded and panels dented, yet he saw a life in it that no one else noticed. The commander had dismissed it long ago, called it useless and grounded, but Jackson never agreed, and today he felt a strange tension, as if the helicopter was waiting for something. Commander Harris paced in, his office above the hangar papers scattered on the desk. He had lost faith in the fleet and the aircraft. In himself, the war had taken everything, and the failures had piled high like rubble. The thought of that old Apache being ready for flight was ridiculous. Yet rumors of Jackson working in secret reached him, and he felt a flicker of curiosity mixed with disbelief that maybe, just maybe, hope could rise from dust. Jackson climbed into the cockpit slowly, his fingers tracing the worn controls, the buttons familiar to him as if they were part of his own body. He ran diagnostics, ignoring the warnings blinking like ghosts. The hangar echoed with the sound of machines humming under his touch, and he could feel the tension in the air, thick and suffocating, like the world itself was holding its breath. He whispered to the Apache that it was time, and he sensed it, understood, and responded in its silent way. Outside the hangar, the squad gathered quietly, some curious, some skeptical. No one dared speak. As they watched Jackson move around the aircraft, their eyes following his hands, every adjustment, every check, he climbed down and pulled a lever inside the hangar. The lights flickered as if in anticipation. The squad exchanged glances, a chill passing through them as the old machine groaned under the strain of revival. They had seen many helicopters fly, but none like this one. Commander Harris appeared at the doorway, his eyes narrowing as he took in the scene, disbelief etched. On his face, he had seen Jackson work miracles, but even he doubted the Apache could rise now. Yet something in the air made him pause, the hum of anticipation, the smell of fuel and metal, and the way Jackson moved with certainty, a confidence born of years of survival, made the commander step closer, knowing that what was about to happen might defy reason. Jackson climbed back into the cockpit, adjusting the controls, the seat worn but familiar. He ran the engine tests one after another, the sound growing louder each time, reverberating through the hangar. The old Apache vibrated under his hands like a living beast, awakening from slumber. Outside, the squad held their breath. The commander froze in place, and the hangar seemed to shrink around them, all waiting for the impossible to happen. The engine roared to life with a sound that rattled windows and shook the ground. Jackson gripped the controls, his eyes fixed on the horizon outside the hangar. The blades began to turn, slicing the air. With a rhythm steady and strong, the old machine seemed alive, responding to every motion, every adjustment. The squad leaned forward, unable to move. The commander could not speak. He had not seen a sight like this in decades. Smoke and dust swirled around the hangar as the Apache lifted slowly. First a few inches, then higher. The squad instinctively stepped back, the vibration reverberating through their bones. Jackson kept his focus steady, every movement calculated yet daring. The old aircraft had resisted flight for years, yet now it rose as if remembering its purpose, as if knowing that the moment demanded it. The commander's mouth opened to speak, but no words came. The Apache hovered above the ground, steady and powerful. Jackson guided it toward the open hangar doors, the sunlight catching on its blades, creating a halo of light and motion. The squad could feel the energy in the air, a mix of fear, awe, and exhilaration. It was not just a machine rising, it was a testament to resilience, to persistence, to belief in the impossible, and the commander felt something he had not felt in years, a spark of hope that maybe the war and the failures were not the end. Suddenly, a gust of wind buffeted the hangar doors, rattling them violently. Jackson adjusted the controls, the old Apache rocking slightly under the strain. The squad tensed, every second an eternity. The commander's eyes widened, knowing that any mistake now could destroy everything. Yet Jackson's hands moved with the certainty of experience, every adjustment precise and confident. The helicopter stabilized as if the wind itself had recognized his authority and was yielding to him. The squad whispered among themselves, the sound barely audible over the engine hum. Their eyes wide as the Apache moved forward, lifting higher, the shadow of its blades cutting across the hangar floor like a giant bird preparing for flight. Jackson guided it toward the open sky, the air carrying a scent of fuel and ozone. The squad could not look away, fear and admiration warring inside them as the impossible unfolded before their eyes. Commander Harris stepped outside onto the tarmac, his heart racing. The old Apache hovered steady above the ground, a symbol of defiance and skill. He could feel the wind from the blades against his face, the roar of the engine filling his ears, and yet the sight struck something deep inside him, something he had thought lost hope. The aircraft moved with life. Jackson, maneuvering with grace, precision, and daring. He realized that he was witnessing more than flight. He was witnessing courage incarnate. Jackson pushed the throttle forward slowly, the old Apache rising higher each moment, cutting through the clouds, the squad shielding, their eyes against the sun and the wind. The commander leaning forward, heart pounding, the machine lifting with power and control, every motion, deliberate yet seemingly effortless, the sound of the blades, a thunderous anthem of resilience, the horizon, calling them into the sky, and the squad could not speak. Only watch. Suddenly, the helicopter banked slightly, revealing Jackson's face in the cockpit. Determined, calm, focused, his eyes locking briefly with the commander's, a silent message passing between them. Understanding trust and the unspoken bond forged in years of hardship and survival, the squad gasped at the precision of movement. The old Apache responding as if it had been waiting all this time for this single moment, the sky above, open wide and the machine cutting through it with purpose. The blades roared as Jackson guided the Apache into the open sky beyond the hangar. The squad standing frozen, their eyes following every motion, the commander finally spoke. His voice, catching, in awe and disbelief, declaring words that no one could have imagined. Moments ago, the old machine rising had shifted something inside them all, a proof that even in despair, hope could take flight, and that the impossible could be made real through skill, courage, and belief. And as the Apache climbed higher, cutting through clouds and sunlight, Jackson held steady, guiding it toward destiny. The squad and the commander left below their eyes, following the flight hearts pounding and minds racing, understanding that this was not just a machine lifted from dust, but a symbol that resilience, courage, and faith could conquer even the darkest doubts. The city below lay quiet, the hum of distant traffic barely audible as Jackson guided the Apache over rooftops and empty streets. The squad and commander, watching from the tarmac, felt the roar of the blades vibrate through their bones. The wind whipped around them, carrying the scent of fuel and ozone, and the knowledge that the impossible was moving above them, alive and powerful. And they realized that this flight was not just a test, it was a statement of survival. Jackson banked the Apache sharply over an abandoned airfield, the old machine responding perfectly to every subtle adjustment, his hands, steady eyes scanning the horizon for obstacles. The squad held their breath below, watching the precision of movement the commander felt. Disbelief mixing with admiration, this machine, thought lost to rust and time, was now a force of will, cutting through the sky, and he understood that Jackson and this helicopter were not just defying expectations, they were rewriting the rules of possibility. The wind shifted, suddenly gusts catching the old Apache slightly off balance. Jackson corrected instantly, the helicopter stabilizing as if alive. The squad gasped at the motion, the commander gripping his desk in the hangar below, realizing that skill, courage, and intuition had replaced technology and advanced systems. In this moment, the aircraft moved with life and understanding, and the squad knew that Jackson was more than a pilot. He was a master of survival and precision. Suddenly, a faint alarm from the control panel caught Jackson's attention. A warning light blinking intermittently, he ignored it for now, trusting instinct over gauges. The helicopter responded perfectly to every touch, as if remembering its purpose. The squad whispered among themselves, tension coiling in their chests, each second stretching into eternity. The commander realized that faith could be restored in unexpected ways, and that courage sometimes appeared in the shape of rusted metal and experienced hands. Jackson pushed the Apache higher, the clouds swirling around the blades, shadows moving across the city below. The hum of engines mixing with the wind, creating a deafening symphony of motion. The squad and commander watched, mesmerized the machine. Cutting through the mist, the pilot guiding it with confidence and daring, and they realized that the impossible was unfolding, not as legend or story, but in front of their eyes, every movement deliberate, every decision critical, and every second alive with suspense. The old Apache banked again, revealing the underside where years of dust and repair told a story of neglect and care. Jackson maneuvered through narrow gaps between industrial towers, the squad on the ground shielding their eyes. From the sun reflecting off the blades, the commander leaning forward, heart pounding, realizing that survival and skill could bring back the dead from despair. That every inch the helicopter moved was a testament to determination and the spirit of refusal to give up. Suddenly a shadow appeared in the sky ahead, a flock of birds startled by the wind. Jackson adjusted instinctively, the Apache weaving smoothly. The squad gasped, tension spiking, the commander holding his breath. He understood that even minor distractions could be fatal in less skilled hands, and yet Jackson moved like water flowing around rocks, the old Apache responding perfectly like a creature awakened after decades of dormancy, ready to reclaim the sky. The pilot leaned forward, scanning the horizon. City streets stretching out below rooftops, glittering in the sunlight. The squad and commander watching every motion, feeling as if they too were part of the flight. Their hearts synced with the rhythm of the blades, each second a test of control, courage, and daring. Jackson whispered under his breath that the moment was theirs, that history could be changed by those willing to act, and the squad realized that the flight was more than demonstration. It was a statement of what could be done when belief refused to die. Suddenly a gust stronger than the rest hit the Apache, rocking it violently. The squad gasping, the commander stepping back instinctively, but Jackson held steady, his hands, precise movements stabilizing. The helicopter, each adjustment calculated yet daring, the blades cutting through wind and light. With unstoppable force, he realized the old machine was alive under his command, responding to intuition, experience, and courage, and the moment was a battle between will and nature itself. The helicopter dipped low over an empty stadium, Jackson banking carefully, the squad below shielding their eyes, feeling the turbulence and the sound reverberating through their chests, the commander gripping the railing, understanding that the flight was no longer just a test. It was a lesson that faith could return in the most unexpected ways, that determination could lift the fallen, and that courage could find expression even in the most unlikely vessels. Suddenly, the engine hiccuped, a warning light flashing. Jackson ignored it for now, trusting the feel of the aircraft, the Apache responding to every subtle command, the squad gasping tension in their hearts, the commander realizing that instinct and experience had replaced technology and gauges, and the flight became a ballet of survival, daring, and proof that skill and courage could defy expectation, and that even old machines could rise to greatness. Jackson banked sharply around a cluster of tall buildings, the old Apache slicing through air with precision, the squad and commander watching, mesmerized, the wind whipping around them, every motion, deliberate and alive, the helicopter cutting through light and shadow with purpose, and they understood that the impossible was no longer impossible, that faith could return in the hands of those willing to act, and that courage could take form in rust and oil and determination. Suddenly, a cloud descended over the city, the Apache entering. the mist visibility dropping the squad, shielding their eyes, the commander holding his breath. Jackson moving purely on instinct, every adjustment precise, the blade slicing through the thick air, every second suspenseful, the old machine alive in. His hands responding to experience, courage, and necessity, and they realized that history was being written in that moment, in blades, wind, and light. The helicopter emerged from the cloud hovering over the hangar below Jackson, guiding it perfectly. The squad and commander exhaling finally, the old Apache steady above them, the sun glinting off the blades, the roar echoing across the city, a symbol of persistence, courage, and skill. The commander realizing that faith had returned not through orders or reports, but through action demonstration and survival, and the squad understanding that they had witnessed something extraordinary. Jackson slowly descended the Apache toward the tarmac, the squad stepping back to give space. The commander finally, speaking his voice catching with awe and disbelief, declaring that the flight had changed everything, that the impossible had been made real, and that courage, persistence, and skill could restore hope, even in the darkest times, the old machine settling. Onto the ground, steady and alive, proof that dust could rise and forgotten heroes could soar. The squad circled the Apache, staring at Jackson climbing down from the cockpit, their eyes wide, the commander approaching slowly, disbelief still in his eyes, but awe now too. He extended his hand to Jackson, acknowledging the flight, the courage, and the proof that even the old and forgotten could rise when guided by skill, experience, and determination. And the squad realized that nothing would ever feel impossible again. And as Jackson walked away from the Apache, the sun reflecting off the rotors, the city silent below him, the commander and squad left in awe. They understood that the impossible had been made real, that courage could take flight, and that even when faith seemed lost, the right hands, the right heart, and the right mind could lift dust into the sky and turn despair into hope. The sun had climbed higher over the city, casting long shadows across the hangar, and Jackson guided the Apache slowly over the tarmac. Each movement deliberate, precise, the blades slicing air with a rhythm steady and powerful. The squad and the commander watched from below, their eyes wide, their hearts pounding, the roar of the engine vibrating through the ground, the old machine alive under his hands, responding perfectly to every subtle adjustment, and they knew the final challenge was yet to come. Jackson banked the Apache toward a narrow corridor between two towering buildings, the squad below instinctively stepping back, the commander gripping the railing, understanding that skill and courage were now the only things keeping the machine aloft, every motion precise yet daring, the wind howling through the gaps like a living force. Testing every ounce of control, the old Apache cutting through the space as if it remembered its purpose from years long past, and the squad could only watch frozen, in awe. Suddenly a gust struck the helicopter violently, the squad gasping, the commander stepping forward instinctively, but Jackson held firm, his hands moving with calm authority, the blades responding like a living entity, each adjustment calculated. Yet instinctive, the old machine resisting the wind as if alive under his command, the tension in the air thick like storm clouds, and every second stretched into an eternity, leaving the squad and commander breathless and uncertain what would come next. The helicopter dipped low over the empty stadium, the old Apache slicing through the air with precision, Jackson guiding it with uncanny skill, the squad shielding their eyes against the sun, reflecting off the blades, the roar deafening, and yet mesmerizing, the commander feeling a spark of hope return in his chest. He realized that the flight was more than demonstration. It was a lesson in resilience, courage, and determination, and that even the forgotten could rise when guided by skill and heart. Suddenly the engine flickered, a warning light blinking rapidly. Jackson ignored it, trusting experience and instinct, the old Apache responding to every subtle adjustment as if alive, the squad leaning forward, tension mounting every second. A test of skill and survival. The commander understanding that technology and gauges could only do so much, that true mastery came from intuition, courage, and resolve, and that the machine now flying above them was proof that determination could overcome neglect and doubt. Jackson tilted the Apache sharply around a cluster of skyscrapers, the blades slicing air with deadly precision. The squad and commander mesmerized the wind whipping around their faces. Every motion deliberate, alive. The helicopter cutting through light and shadow as if it had a soul, the roar echoing across the city. The commander realizing that faith could return in the most unlikely forms, and the squad understanding that courage was not measured in medals or rank, but in action and mastery of the impossible. Suddenly, a flock of birds appeared ahead. Jackson adjusted instinctively, weaving the Apache through the sky, the squad gasping, the commander gripping the railing, knowing that minor distractions could mean disaster. Yet Jackson moved like water flowing around rocks, the old machine alive, responding to the slightest touch. Like a living creature awakened after years of dust and neglect, ready to reclaim its purpose, and the squad could feel the adrenaline surge through their veins. The Apache climbed higher, cutting through thin clouds, the city sprawling below a patchwork of steel and glass. The squad and commander watching every motion, hearts pounding the wind, whipping past, ears ringing, the blades moving with perfect synchronization. Every decision crucial, every movement daring and precise, Jackson whispering under his breath that the moment was theirs, that history could be shaped by those who refused to surrender. The squad realizing that this was more than flight. It was proof that belief and skill could overcome despair. Suddenly, the helicopter dipped unexpectedly, a gust stronger than the rest rocking the Apache violently. The squad gasping, the commander stepping forward instinctively. Jackson countered instantly, stabilizing the machine, every movement deliberate yet instinctive, the blades slicing through the turbulent air, the old Apache alive under his control, resisting chaos as if responding to his will, the squad frozen in, all understanding that what they witnessed was more than flight. It was mastery, survival, and proof of courage, incarnate. Jackson banked sharply over an abandoned airfield, the blades cutting through the mist, hovering briefly above empty hangars, the squad shielding their eyes against the roar, the commander holding his breath, knowing that the final maneuver would define whether the flight ended in triumph or disaster. Every adjustment precise yet daring, the old machine alive, responding to his hands and mind as if it had been waiting all these years for this moment, and the squad realizing that the impossible was no longer impossible. The old Apache hovered over the hangar tarmac, Jackson guiding it toward the ground slowly, carefully, the wind tugging at the blades, threatening instability. Every motion deliberate, the squad and commander frozen, the roar, deafening yet exhilarating. Each second suspenseful and alive, Jackson whispering that the moment was theirs, that perseverance could turn dust into sky. The old machine descending as if aware of its audience, its legacy and its proof that courage, persistence, and skill could rise above doubt. Suddenly, a final gust rocked the helicopter slightly, the squad holding their breath, the commander gripping the railing tightly. Jackson adjusting instantly, the Apache stabilizing under his command. Every subtle movement, precise yet instinctive, the old machine alive, responding to experience and daring as if it had remembered its purpose, and the squad realizing that what they witnessed was not just flight, but triumph over neglect, disbelief, and despair, and the roar of the blades echoing like a victory anthem. Jackson touched the tarmac smoothly, the old Apache settling with power and grace, the squad exhaling finally, their eyes wide, their hearts racing, the commander stepping forward, disbelief and awe etched on his face. He extended his hand to Jackson, acknowledging the flight, the courage and the proof that even old machines forgotten and doubted could rise to greatness if guided by skill, determination, and heart. And the squad realizing that nothing would ever feel impossible again, the blades slowly spinning down, Jackson climbing down from the cockpit, the squad circling the Apache in awe, the commander stepping closer, voice catching finally declaring that the impossible had been made real, that courage could restore faith, and that even when hope was lost, persistent skill and belief could lift the fallen and forgotten into the sky, and the squad understanding that they had witnessed history in motion and that the lesson of the old Apache would never be forgotten. And as Jackson walked away from the helicopter, the sun reflecting off the rotors, the squad and commander left behind understanding that dust could rise, that courage could take flight, that skill and heart could defy neglect and disbelief, and that even the darkest moments could give birth to triumph and hope, and the old Apache, resting on the tarmac, a symbol of endurance, resilience, and proof that even when faith was lost, heroes could lift themselves and their legacy into the clouds.